Okay, I am Pastor Gary L. Carlson. I am the Associate Pastor at Heartland Worship Center in Salina, Kansas, and I'm retired Air Force after about 30 years of doing chaplain service and security police kind of stuff. And here I am, and now I'm helping my friend Miles out. Going to answer a few questions. I've got them. I'm going to kind of refer to them, and then I'll just kind of answer them. So, first question is, Miles asked, is what is your definition of leadership? And I guess, I sat there and I looked at that for a while, thought about it for a while, and so I wrote down a couple things. My definition of leadership is one who influences and one who motivates, but also one who leads by example and out front, not from behind. You remember some of the old war movies and stuff, and you'd have the general or the colonel or the captain, he'd be out front leading his men, as opposed to the guy that was sitting back at headquarters telling them what to do. See, a leader is a guy that's out front. People follow you because they want to, not because they have to. I mean, you could be a supervisor or a manager and they have to obey you, but they don't have to follow you. Being in charge doesn't make you a leader. I read John Maxwell, and I've used him in teaching different levels of folks. And in one of his books, he says, leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. And so that's kind of what I have for the first question. The second question is, what was your leadership role like as a military chaplain? Well, depended on the level, because I started out as a staff chaplain, which means that I worked for somebody else who worked for somebody else who worked for somebody else, and you get the picture there. But I started out as a staff chaplain, then I became a senior Protestant chaplain, which means I was responsible for the Protestant ministry on a base, and had a certain number of Protestant chaplains that answered to me, and then I answered to the wing chaplain. And then when I was wing chaplain, I was responsible for the religious ministry on the entire base. And then I went from there to command chaplain, and then I was responsible for a number of bases within that command. And then my final assignment was in the war zone, where I was the senior chaplain for that particular war zone for the Air Force chaplain service for a year, and got the opportunity to go around to the different countries and see the people that fell under my responsibility and stuff. So my experience went from the very beginning all the way to almost as high as I could have possibly gone, other than being chief of chaplain service and that kind of thing, which never got to, didn't aspire to, didn't want it. I was good to go with where God had put me. Now, you also asked what is one thing you wish you knew about leadership when I was your age? Now, Miles, what are you, 23?
20.
20?
Yep.
Holy cow, you're a lot younger than I thought you were, so okay. That's okay. I'm wondering if I even thought about leadership at your age. I don't know. But at that time, I was on active duty for the first time. I was a security policeman. And I think one of the things I learned by watching the different commanders and the leaders around is that being a leader is not as simple as one thinks it is. I mean, you build leaders. Some have a natural talent to influence others, but I think that can only go so far, because I also believe, like a lot of other teachers are teaching you, that leaders aren't born, they're made. You have to work at being a leader. You just have to do it. It was easy, I think, to judge somebody that you didn't think was doing a good job, and most of us said, man, I could do that better, man. Just give me an opportunity, man. I could do my job a whole lot better. Well, the other side of that was, too, is I'm glad I'm not in his shoes, because some of the things the leaders had to deal with. I guess, bottom line for that question, leadership's not simple. It's not easy. It's not cut and dry. And those are some of the things I think that I wished I would have known back then. Then it's just a matter of, I wanted to do my job, get it over with, but you hope that you had a good leader that could lead you the way that you needed to, to be led or to follow,
right.
In that sense. So now you also asked, what did you do to combat a stressful situation while in the chaplaincy? What did you do, Miles, or what do you do when you have stress in a different situation? You got to get a certain report done, or you've got to get a certain program off the ground and whatever. You feel the stress. So I think sometimes we do different things, and that depends because there are different levels of what I would do. First off, I'd research and pray. Research and pray, and then I would ask advice. You seek other leaders out that you trust, and that's what I did. I sought other leaders out that I trusted, and then too it depended on whether you were dealing with people problems or program problems. Now there are people out there that, let's face it, they're very hard to work with, hard to get along with too, no matter what you do, and you have to be able to, as a leader, to make the hard decisions. What Larry the Cable Guy say? Get her done. And as a leader, that's your responsibility, is to get her done. Results. And so you want to be able to, in order to be able to do that, you go to different leaders, you ask advice, you do your research, you do your reading, and you know what you have to do. But you never leave God out of it. But that's when you're dealing with stress and getting things done, God has to be the central focus of what you do, no matter what it is. And you're going to be what? Youth pastor?
We'll see.
Or want to be, or whatever. You're going to run into a lot of stuff either way.
Yeah.
And you'll have to learn how to deal with that stress on your own, for sure. Now, the last question you asked me is, what certain traits distinguish a leader? Now, you've seen different leaders that you'd like to model yourself after because you've seen certain things that jump out at you or that you admire, and you see that the leader gets things done too. But I think a leader is one he's humble, and he cares for his people, and he has their concerns in mind. I mean, if you don't care for your people, you're not a leader at all. You may think you're a leader, and you can't even define yourself as a leader. It's the people who will find you as a leader. I mean, you could have the position and say, okay, I got this position, that makes me the leader. Well, it makes you in charge, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you are a leader in that sense. I think also different traits that distinguish a leader is a man or woman, you have to have integrity and vision. Integrity and vision. You need to not be ambiguous. You need to be straightforward in your thinking. And you need to be a starter and a self-starter. And you need to be, and in this case we're talking Christian leaders, I believe you need to be a man of prayer too. And when people see those things, they're going to want to follow you too. And that's really the important thing, is you want them to follow you. You can make them do things, but you can't make them actually follow you, in that sense. And so those are some of the things that I kind of, picked up over the years. And I had to stop and think about it for a while. Remember, I told you that I'm a little older now, so I don't remember things as well until I think about it.
Well, great. Stuff. Well, thank you so much, Pastor Gary.
Well, you're welcome. You got any other questions that I might be able to stumble through for you?
What has been the biggest reward throughout the years in your different leadership? As being a pastor, as being working with chaplaincy, what has been the biggest reward?
I think the biggest reward is watching the people excel under your leadership. Because as part of a leader, you also encourage your people and you want them to do well. So, and when you see them excelling, and then they go to a different assignment, and you see them really moving up in their own leadership area, that's pretty good. You feel good about it.
Cool.
And stuff. So
awesome.
All right.
Well, great. Well, thank you.